Welcome back. In this chapter, we are going to build a calculator, and I want to show you what the calculator can do and what it can't do. So there are some limitations here, and the idea behind this calculator is that you learn to build complex UIs, so to speak. So a complex user interface, which means the graphical user interface that we can see, all of those buttons positioned correctly with the right distance to each other and so forth. Because as you can see, they are all equally distant to each other and the text is all the same size and so forth. So this is something that you have to take into consideration when building such a UI, that it looks good. And it's really a rather boring example, of course. Calculators are super boring in my opinion because it's just an app that everybody has on his phone anyways, but it's a very good example for building such a UI. And it's also something that you probably get quite a lot at university. So if you ever go to university and have IT there or programming, then it's very likely that they will ask you to build a calculator, or you build a calculator at one point in university. And because this is a rather early stage in the course, we're not going to use third-party libraries for this. We're just going to use basic code, and that will also limit the functionality of our calculator because we cannot use super large numbers and we cannot use super precise numbers either. So dividing is going to be a huge problem for our calculator. For example, if we divide a value here, you can see this is the result that we get. And now if I want to do any additional calculations afterwards, it won't work because the application is limited to 12 values here, or to 12 digits, so to speak. All right. And if I clear and then I do some other operations, you can see I can do multiple operations after another. It's no issue. And all of them work fine. But as soon as I have a huge number or a very long entry, as you can see here, then it gets limited. So now I cannot do anything with it anymore. At that point, I have to clear my calculator. So that's just a limitation of the data types that we have as well. So for example, the double, the int, the longs, all of those data types that we're using, they are limited to a certain amount of digits, and that's what we have limited it to, just 12, to make sure that everything is still going to work. Of course, we have to be careful. Dividing by 0 is always a problem, so we get the result of infinity. All right, so at this point, you can try to build this UI yourself. And many things could go wrong, but that's no problem. If you want, just go ahead and try to build this UI. Just an advice from my side, use linear layouts. So don't use the constraint layouts where you just drag stuff in there. Of course, you can do that and it might work as well, but it's going to be a pain to make everything equally far from each other and really well positioned. So I would really recommend to go ahead and use linear layouts. So how we're going to do it is the whole app is going to be within a linear layout. Then we have a text field here at the top, which takes quite some space. Then we have a linear layout for all the buttons here. So for one row, or each row will be a linear layout, which contains the individual buttons. And then we have a linear layout, which contains all of the different rows. So that's pretty much it. In order to get the double width here for a button, what you can do is you can use a functionality called weight. So layout underscore weight. That's the property that you have to work with. So for example, the 0 button has a layout weight of 2. All of the individual buttons, they have a layout weight of 1 and the equal sign. You could think that it has a layout weight of 4, but it actually also has a layout weight of 1 because it's the only element in that row. Here we can see there are 3 elements. So the 0 has a weight of 2 and each of those buttons has a weight of 1. So the 0 will be as thick as or as wide as 2 other buttons. The same goes for the individual rows. So each row is equally high. So they all have a layout weight of 1. So they are equally tall or equally high. All right. So this is just a little side note. If you want, you can go ahead and try it yourself. If you do, then good luck. And if you don't want to do it, if you just want to watch the videos, then of course you can do so as well. And in the next video, I'm going to show you how to build that. Or I will show you one way of building it. Of course, there are multiple different ways of building this UI, and maybe you have a even nicer version or something like that. So I hope you enjoyed this little exercise and this little app, and see you in the next video.